What is it to adapt something? What is it to create story? Find out when two Nicolas Cages are set loose in New York City, LA, and the Miami, Florida area in Adaptation.
I don't think so. But anyway, it's cool for my killer to have this modus operandi because at the end, when he forces the woman who's really him to eat herself, he's also eating himself to death.
I'm insane.
No, but seriously, we watched something, even though I've recently watched Adaptation, I found it pretty dull and not really that funny. We watched another movie that you could describe as incredibly dull and really unfunny. Why don't you tell these people what we watched?
We saw Mank. Good old Mank.
And let me just say, I have plenty of problems with this movie. It had great cinematography, used a lot of great techniques, cigarette burn.
See, a movie doesn't come all on one big reel. It comes on a few. So someone has to be there to switch the projectors at the exact moment that one reel ends and the next one begins. If you look for it, you can see these little dots come into the upper right-hand corner of the screen.
It's the scratches and hairs on the film. Well, the fake scratches and fake hairs on the film were a nice touch, but other than that, I wanted to blow my brains out for virtually every minute of this movie. How'd you feel about it?
I can perfectly summarize my feeling pretty clearly here. There's a scene an hour and 45 minutes into the movie with Gary Oldman sitting in a chair snoring. And that, that was pretty much my feeling for the entirety of this movie, except for there's one moment when I woke from my coma, which is when they go into this writer's room. There's a secretary with nipple tassels on. And
that did pique my interest as well. That did lull me out of my slumber, so to speak.
And wow, they were nice. They were nice.
But unfortunately, that was her only appearance.
That was her only appearance, and unfortunately, I would have rather watched a 2-hour and 11-minute movie about the nipple tassel secretary. Than this bloated, esoteric, meandering piece of shit.
Make sure you don't use your dad's script next time, okay, Dave? Dave, babe, you got to get a better script.
Yeah, maybe your dad, who never wrote a screenplay in his entire life, maybe shouldn't.
Well, I mean,
that.
Just based on that, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. A guy who's never written a screenplay. This is coherent. You understand what's happening, why it's happening, but it's just so incredibly lifeless. And on top of that, so are the performances, except for one. And I'm curious if you can guess which one I'm talking about.
I mean, I only liked two actors in the movie. I thought Gary Oldman's brother, I liked him, even though he looked 30 years younger than Gary Oldman.
I was going to bring that up as well. Yes. Gary Oldman, it's not an insult because he is old. He was looked like he was 65 and his brother was like 20. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think you could at max say his brother was maybe 30, maybe.
At most.
Yeah, I thought Charles Dance.
There you go.
Charles Dance is always good. That's the thing. He's typecast in everything, but he's just really good at his whole shtick.
I said I have murdered a man, and I want to confess. Hey, shut up down there.
Yeah.
He's a great English actor, and I definitely would say he did this Agatha Christie adaptation of And Then There Were None on the BBC a few years ago. It was a miniseries. Sam Neill was in it. It was fucking great. So I would definitely recommend that.
I'll have to give it a watch.
Yeah, Charles Dance.
I'm in agreement with you with Charles Dance. The brother, he was fine. He didn't blow me away. I liked the Orson Welles guy at first, but at the end when he started screaming, it was like Chris Rock and Fargo.
To remind you, we have a contract that you understood and agreed to. If you fight this, it will go to what your new guild calls arbitration.
We're on the ride now, and we can't get off till the roller coaster stops. Now take off your damn coat and get me some fucking coffee.
Right. Well, that's the thing with this movie is that there's moments where you go, oh, okay, this is pretty good. And then it just becomes overbearing. throughout the rest of the movie. Like when the movie started and you get the opening credits, I was like, oh, this looks really nice. And the musical score at the beginning, I was like, oh man, I really like the score here. And then just periodically throughout the film, I was like, wow, I really hate the score of this movie. I was like, it's just fucking annoying.
Well, the thing is, I believe this is merely conjecture. I believe they were going for, especially in tandem with the filming style, they're going for a movie of the time. But I didn't even notice the score, honestly. I watched a review another reviewer did, and aside from that opening, the opening credits, I can't recall a single thing about the score.
Wow, really? It didn't stick out to you at all as being annoying at points at all?
No, I was far more annoyed by everybody besides Charles Dance and the Orson Welles character who made brief appearances. Charles Dance, he looked a little bit like an actor called Jack Collum, and he sounded just like him. Do you know who that is?
No.
Mostly plays, been in a couple TV shows.
I go, he thinks, this music box must follow, and with it, this poor downtrodden man.
I feel like singing an invitational hymn now, Brother John. If there be any unsaved souls here tonight, I feel like giving their hearts to...
But yeah, Charles Dance, he, I wouldn't have even guessed it was him if I didn't see his name in the credits.
I didn't catch that. I wanted to bring up something you brought up earlier, because you were talking about you liked the cigarette burns and the scratches and everything. I got a massive fucking problem with that.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to read here is from Criterion, okay? Now, you're a fan of Criterion. I'm a fan of Criterion. And David Fincher, when he set out to make this movie, he said, I wanted to make it look like a film that someone found in their basement, okay? Now, when people find films in their basement, reels, negatives, they get them remastered. They get them restored. And Criterion's statement here is on almost every single one of their films that's shot on film, thousands of instances of dirt, debris, scratches, and splices and warps were all manually removed, okay? They spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars restoring these movies and hundreds upon hundreds of hours manually removing these things. And this fucking megalomaniac David Fincher is an obsession of fucking details. He adds all of these fucking things that people painstakingly remove so that people will actually watch these older films. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and they fix the audio too.
I got something much more upsetting for you. This movie was shot in 8K, but they added like blurriness and I want to say out of sort of where the foreground is in focus, but the background is sort of kind of strange looking.
Well, they shot day for night for a scene. There's the scene at the fountain, which I was like, why the fuck does this look like shit? I was like, this looks so weird. And I read an interview, and he's like, oh, yeah, we shot day for night. Newsflash, David Fincher.
Was it the scene with Amanda Seyfried and him at like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she kicks the water, and there's CGI water that flings towards the screen. Yeah. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, wow, David Fincher, I hate to break it to you. Everyone says you never shoot day for night. That's one of the biggest rules in filmmaking. It never looks fucking good because they shot in black and white and they did so much heavy color correction. I guess it's kind of passable compared to a movie that's shot in color, but you don't do that. Another thing I want to bring up about the technical side of the filmmaking is that the whole take thing, he's known notoriously for doing a lot of takes.
Yeah.
Amanda Seyfried talked in an interview I read. He did 200 fucking takes of her in a non-dialogue scene, okay? Just because he wanted her. Yes, 200 fucking takes of a non-dialogue scene just to supposedly get the right facial notice or whatever.
Like Amanda Seyfried, she's not like one of these uber dripping with talent actresses, but she's very good. She knows what she's doing.
Right. He also did over 100 takes of a scene towards the end of the movie, which involves Charles Dance. We'll get into it later in spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
But literally at the 100th take, Gary Oldman like screamed out loud, like, "We've done 100 fucking takes of this, man. No more. We don't need any more." And David Fincher just goes, "Take 101, go."
You might be right on your megalomania angle, because look at this. Now he doesn't have to answer to a studio. Netflix, I'm assuming, has given him carte blanche to do whatever he wants.
Right. And I want to add one more thing on the technical level, because I know a lot of people don't give a shit about this, but I just got to vent about it. He does all these fucking takes, okay? And I've listened to him talk about it. He says, listen, we spend all this time, we spend all this money, let's just get it right, okay? I understand what you're saying. He then completely loops his entire films, okay? He ADRs his entire film.
Why should I, huh? Those devils can die. They did so much damage to the store. I'll take a few as payback.
Please don't do that. I need them for ransom.
So for people listening, all of those takes where actors are talking and the audio that they've given, he then has them go into a recording studio and try to sync their voice in a booth to that scene. So what the fuck was the point of all the takes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, he's literally even says in interviews, like, oh yeah, I loop my entire movies, which I noticed he started doing like around Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And I'm like, what the fuck is the point? Especially when he even recorded this movie in mono. Like the audio, I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on with the audio in this movie? He recorded it in mono because that's what they did in the old days. And it sounds so echoey.
What about the way she signed it? Always echo. Can you beat that? Not just echo, always echo.
It's fucking stupid, man. It's so self-indulgent and self-masturbatory, this whole fucking movie. I can't stand it, man. I can't fucking stand it. I really can't. It's brutal. It's fucking brutal.
I will say I enjoyed the technique, except for that day for night, which I didn't notice, and the echoing, which I did notice, but I couldn't exactly put a word to it. I just, like you said, I thought, why is the sound so funny? Technically, it's very beautifully done. It looks great, but I mean, there's no connection for me. I'll bring it up when we get into spoilers, but the performances, you should have really cast somebody else for the lead and some of the other roles if you're going to go this route.
You're a junior writer, Joe. So you're only half the wit your big brother is. How many half-wits make that?
I will say this, too, before I close out, sorry. I just watched a Russian film, Stalker. It's 2 hours and 40 or 50 minutes of three dudes walking around in a field. That movie had more emotional resonance in any 10-minute segment than this entire 2 hour and 10-minute movie did.
A lot of the dangers about this movie, there's a lot of directors now, there's this obsession with movies, right? So this is about kind of Citizen Kane, background of that, and there's two other movies that are going to be going into production, okay?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck is making a movie about Chinatown.
Oh my God, I want to vomit.
Yeah, it's based.
Let me guess, Robert Town is a bank robbing, super smart criminal. He gets away with everything and then writes Chinatown.
Right. Yeah, it's based on, there was a book made a few years ago called The Big Goodbye. And basically the thesis of the book was that Chinatown was like the last true Hollywood movie that was reminiscent of old Hollywood.
I don't know about that, but I mean...
I kind of agree with it because then Jaws and Star Wars came and the whole Hollywood system changed. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind
big budget and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't really get any more movies like that. Sure, there's like a Taxi Driver.
It's not my apartment. You know who lives there? Huh? No, I mean, you wouldn't know who lives there. I'm just saying. But you know who lives there? Huh?
78 and, Deer Hunter, but those aren't even like old Hollywood movies. Those have nothing to do with kind of old Hollywood. I
They're
mean,
sort of like they're made in the visage of it, like a storyteller with something to say, not just let's get as many seats in the audience as possible. Because obviously, I'm a big fan of Taxi Driver and Deer Hunter, and their substance may not be of old Hollywood. Their nature surely is.
yeah, and the other movie that is being made, Barry Levinson is directing it, and it's Oscar Isaac is playing Francis Ford Coppola, and it's about The Godfather. It's called Francis and the Godfather, and it's like because and this is kind of my theory here. Everyone says you can't remake The Godfather, you can't remake Chinatown, you can't remake Citizen Kane. These are, in a way, even though they're not a remake, they're like trying to be. Like you're trying to get near it. You know what I mean? And you're doing this, oh, it's behind the scenes. Oh, it's about the movie. I have a much more pessimistic view of that, you know. And I was wondering, because I'm not really a big fan of biopics in general, but this decision, I'm seeing a trend now, and I'm worried about it, of this Oscar bait movie about a movie.
We're gonna jerk off the Oscar voters by making it about a movie. I'm sort of stepping right in line with you there, but at the same time, if they make something good, I'll be happy to pay to see it, you know?
Well, the thing is that there's a difference between making a movie about a movie, because there's, like, I look at something like Hail Caesar with Coens, which I'm a big fan of, and that's talking about old Hollywood. I didn't like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know you liked that. Even that, those movies, to me, they're not biting on something classic. They're far removed enough where it's more of talking about that era, where this is just like, there's something weird about this movie, Mank.
Well, I vote yes. I do as well.
Me too.
And what I'm assuming is going to be the Ben Affleck joint.
Jesus Christ! It's as soon as you say it, I want to just stab my eyes out. In case you guys don't know, I hate Ben Affleck as a filmmaker. Actor, he's fine. He's not good. He's not great, but he's not bad. Every single one of his movies that he stars in, he's the smartest, most capable, strongest, and will get out of any jam, no matter how silly and ridiculous it is. Look at The Town versus The Friends of Eddie Coyle. Yes, The Friends of Eddie Coyle has a shitty score, but that movie is 10,000 times better than The Town. All right, Ben Affleck rant over.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say about Ben Affleck is that I think the first movie he directed, I do really like, Gone Baby Gone. But that's because he's not in it.
Yeah, but he did cast his brother as the lead, who I do like. I do like Casey Affleck.
Yeah, if you've never seen Manchester by the Sea, he was incredible in that. He's a much better actor than his brother. I got a lot of. I mean, we really haven't even got into the movie. I mean, we talked about the technical side, the mono and the cigarette burns. You said you like those touches.
It's just they were a little overbearing with the cigarette burns. The sort of hairs or scratches on the screen. If you notice them, you do. If not, whatever. The cigarette burns, they were a little overbearing. When I first saw them, like, oh, it's a nice touch. It's sort of reminding us of old Hollywood, but they do happen quite frequently.
How did you feel about the typewriter text? Because that happens to show the flashbacks and stuff. How did you feel about that?
It's sort of bordering on nice touch to, I think my audience is retarded and not going to know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like when it first happened, I was like, oh, I like this. This is a nice touch. And then, like everything in the movie, like I brought up before, it just becomes so overbearing. And I look at the editing of this film and I'm like, was the movie so boring when you were cutting it that you had to do flashbacks and that you couldn't just tell it in sequential order?
It's funny you say that because the editing is very, very strange in this movie. Towards the end especially, it'll be flashback scene with his friend who made a propaganda movie, back to the present, back to the past. Like, it's just it's too much. Give us the complete story of the past or the complete stanza of that moment, or just don't cut back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you mean. The only reason why I think he edited the film this way is because when he was writing Citizen Kane, he broke his leg. You know, he was in a car accident. And so Mankiewicz is laying basically just in a bed the whole time, which makes that whole point of the film so fucking boring because he's just in a bed in a cabin.
The whole thing comes across as lifeless, especially the lead's performance.
But I think there would have been much more energy in the film if you had the first half be him around Hollywood and going over here and going there and finding out the gestations of getting into the script. But with the way they edited the film, it's like every time we go to the present, 1940, it's just, it grinds to a fucking halt every time. It just kills the fucking movie.
I don't give a fuck about your little aide. I don't care about her husband lost at sea.
Right. Yeah, just superfluous characters that you don't give a shit about. Also, Gary Oldman, I'm a massive fan of him. I really am. He's a great actor, but man, he's not good in this movie. And there's people I heard like a month ago, like, he's the front runner for the Oscar. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, seeing him in this movie play drunk.
A picture I just know you're gonna love. It's a modern-day version of Kia.
It's embarrassing. I'm like, this is a parody of someone who's drunk. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. How did you feel about his acting and playing drunk and things like that?
I mentioned about the earlier, lifeless. What you need for this kind of movie, if you're going to go with this kind of movie, you need like an Arthur type. Do you know that movie Arthur?
I don't drink because drinking affects your decision-making.
You may be right. I can't decide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Somebody with real charm and wit. The last, I don't want to say decade, but it might be, for me, everything I've seen Gary Oldman in, it's dull. It's like Commissioner Gordon, that movie.
One day, you may face such a moment of crisis, and in that moment, I hope you have a friend like I did.
He did where he was Winston Churchill, this movie. He can't lead a movie anymore. He's an ancillary character, a side character at best now.
Yeah, I mean, he was dangerous when he was younger. You know what I mean? Like, he had this volatile nature.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you see him in, you know, obviously Leon the Professional, Sid and Nancy, even The Fifth Element. I mean, he's done a million films. And even movies that don't work, like something like Romeo is Bleeding, which is kind of hilarious.
I'm unfamiliar with Romeo is Bleeding.
Oh my God, it's absolutely hysterical. His performance is so manic and insane in that movie. He just had something. There's a real magic to Gary Oldman. He can be truly magnetic and just incredible. And this is just so like reserved and fucking boring.
Which again could work. Like I said earlier, with a different lead, this could work if you had better, smarter, wittier writing. I feel like in order to get all the jokes and all the in stuff, you have to know basically everything about the golden age of Hollywood. Otherwise, you're fucked.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, you brought up another actor, and he tried to make this movie in the 90s after he did The Game, and he wanted to have Kevin Spacey in the lead, and Jodie Foster was, I believe, going to play the role of Amanda Seyfried. And I think that would have worked a lot better. I know Kevin Spacey is persona non grata now, but Kevin Spacey in the 90s was fucking incredible.
Electric, man.
And let's not forget the disease-spreading horror. Only in a world this shitty could you even try to say these were innocent people and keep a straight face.
He was amazing. And I think when I read that, I was like, yeah, he would have been good in this. I think he could have even elevated this to something better. But I'm glad that it didn't get made then, because we wouldn't have got Fight Club. So
I think it might have been better back then because it would have been a studio picture. He wouldn't have had free reign. It would have been contained somewhat, but you never know, honestly.
I wanted to get into because you were talking about treating the audience like they were dumb.
I said treating the audience like they're retarded. I will not be misquoted.
At the beginning of the film, they have a quote about how Orson Welles is going to have free reign on the movie. He's going to have final cut. Studios really aren't going to get involved. And then basically 2 scenes later, we're once again reiterating that. And they're saying,
What I told you, Mank. I have final cut, final everything. There are no studio notes.
We'll have no one but ourselves to blame.
And it's like, okay, you just said that in the opening quote of the movie. Why are we repeating that? Why are we bashing that into the audience's brain? Like,
yeah.
I guess it's because the screenplay that he wrote, Herman Mankiewicz, it was 325 pages long, right?
Yeah.
And he was like a script doctor. I believe it was like his first script where he was like credited or something like that, they said.
They said that in the movie. Or they didn't say that, but they said...
I want credit.
Come again?
It's the best thing I've ever written.
Yeah, do you want to just get into spoilers, or do you have anything to say before that?
No, let's just get into spoilers. Why don't you start spoiling for us?
Well, first of all, I want to say I don't recommend this movie to anyone. I don't give a fuck. Fuck this movie. It's ridiculous. It's self-indulgent. And listen, I love cinematography, and the black and white photography is nice. Look at a fucking trailer online. Look at some stills.
That's
this
all you
movie
need.
is fucking. It's boring as fuck, and if you have to watch it, mute the fucking thing. And just look at the images like you're listening to a podcast.
Listen to this
mute the
podcast.
movie and listen to our review.
There you go. Now we're double dipping. That's what we call vertical integration, my friends. I would say I don't recommend it to... I only have one group to recommend it to. Incredibly pretentious film snobs. You're going to love it. You're going to eat it up. Other than that, you're going to fucking hate it if you're anybody else.
Yeah, no, one last thing I want to add before we get into spoilers. This movie is a fucking flop. It has not cracked the top 10 in Netflix once. And like the number one thing on Netflix at the time of recording is like the fucking Queen's Gambit, which is about like chess. So if this fucking movie, if this boring piece of shit can't get into the top 10, you fucked up, Fincher.
I have an anecdote about that. I opened my Netflix last night. Okay, it's a brand new David Fincher movie. They probably spent a shit ton of money on it. It'll definitely be on the home screen. I spent about 5 to 10 minutes looking for it there. Search, M, not there. A, not there. N, not there. K. Oh, it's the fourth option.
Mank. Oh, Manky. What a shitty name for a movie.
Do you think if they replaced Gary Oldman with, let's just say, Bryan Cranston, it would have worked better?
I'll be honest, no. And I love Bryan Cranston, and I know kind of where you're going because Bryan Cranston played Dalton Trumbo a few years ago, one of the screenwriters who I think worked with like Kubrick and stuff, who was also a script doctor. That movie looked really fucking boring too, so I never watched it. I love Bryan Cranston, but Bryan Cranston isn't a better actor than Gary Oldman.
I would say maybe now he is. Like, he's lifeless to me now. Like you said earlier, he used to have this energy, this magnetic charisma. Now it's just, I'm old man actor.
Yeah, I can't even think of like a modern performance from him like that I really loved at all recently. You know, he's just been doing a lot of bullshit.
Oh yeah.
So,
before we go back into spoilers, I'm sorry, I have to loop back again. On having a shit ton of takes. I'm fine with it. Not a fucking 100 or 200 for a non-speaking scene, but my whole idea behind that is you get as many options as possible. You get the right fit. Now, don't fucking go crazy with it like Mr. Fincher did this movie. Maybe even don't go Kubrick with it. but I don't know,
Yeah.
20 to 30. That sounds like a right number to me.
Right. Well, to follow up on this, I listened to Roger Deakins' podcast. It's called, I think, the Team Deakins podcast, and he was talking to I forget his name, the cinematographer for the Matrix movies, and he did Baby Driver. He works with Edgar Wright and things like that. It's good DP. I'm forgetting his name. He was talking about how the Wachowskis read a book on Kubrick, and how that he would always do 50 plus takes a scene because he wanted to tire the actors out so that they would just give a naturalistic performance.
Makes sense, but why not just have him run on a treadmill or something before you start shooting?
Right. And so the cinematographer said, if I could, I would have dug Stanley Kubrick out of his grave, reanimated him, and killed him again. Because it was just hell on the sequels for The Matrix. It was just, he said it was nightmarish hell.
Well, the sequels themselves were nightmarish hell.
Right. And it was so funny because Roger Deakins brought up Kubrick, and he said, yeah, well, the amazing thing that people don't notice is that for all those takes he used, he always used like the second or third take. He was talking about Barry Lyndon, and he's like, yeah, he always used like the first couple of takes. I was just like, so this is total fucking bullshit.
It sure sounds like it.
Yeah, let's get into spoilers. What do you want to bring up?
He was masturbating!
I found the political angle of this juvenile. It reminded me of sort of, Trevor Noah and John Oliver's show. It's not that somebody from another country can't dissect politics, but it feels like you're just reading lines. Somebody told you to say this. It's like a preteen just went through his World War II, Depression, and whatever era social studies class with Mr. Tucker, and now he has to go to playwriting class, and he wrote the scenes for this one.
I think you're talking about the scene where they're at like this dinner party, and they're all in this big room.
Oh God, yes.
Talking about communism and socialism. Yeah, that was cringe-inducing. It was definitely, it felt like a history lesson. I mean, even like focusing on Charles Dance and him saying,
Don't be around, Marion. He won't be around for long. The Germans are a thoughtful, considerate people.
And then they're talking about Hitler and everything. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, is this what we're saying about, I mean, I don't know, is he condemning the liberal elite or something with that? Saying that they're trying to be progressive in that scene where they're talking about Hitler or something? Like, I don't really know what he's saying particularly, or is it just to say, oh wow, they were really wrong?
He's saying that Charles Dance is the antagonist and Herman Mankiewicz is the protagonist.
That's it, huh?
I don't know enough about William Randolph Hearst to say whether or not he was, a fan of the Nazis or not, but there are plenty of industrialists who were. That's besides the point. You're just, even if he was, you're just dragging him through the mud just to manipulate us into hating him.
Yeah, and I don't know, the whole like you were talking about John Oliver and everything, like they add this kind of like fake news angle to this movie, with like the
propaganda.
The propaganda films and everything, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we know that the Nazis made propaganda films, but it's like, are you like, really, are we doing the whole Trump fake news shit? Like, we're really, was that the purpose of making this in 2020?
I don't think it's about Trump. I think it's more just about the news, about the media in general. They can sway public opinion any which way they want, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was about Trump and stuff.
Yeah, you might be right. It might be more of a condemnation of the way the news is being reported now. Maybe that's it. But that's not profound. That's not interesting. We already know this. And the mainstream public is shouting this out. It's not like you're saying anything profound. Like, so you look at like a movie like Network from like back in the 70s, which now when you look at it now, you're like, okay, wow, a lot of some of these older movies, like They Live, we're seeing that now when they were making those movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like this, it's like we already got it. I wanted to bring up the fact that I think this movie would have been better served as a play. And I'm wondering how you feel about that.
Well, if you mean incredibly boring and I'm not going to see it, then yes, it would be better as a play.
It's just that most of the locations in this movie, it's like one little set, and there's a few actors moving around.
It's the little
feels like
house
a play.
in the Mojave Desert and MGM Studios, basically.
Right.
Oh, yeah, and Hearst's house. Those are the best scenes, in my opinion. The second one, when he's drunk and he's shouting, but then, what's his name? Mr. Mayor steps up. He's like,
And let me let you in on a little secret. Do you have any idea who pays half your salary? He pays half your fucking salary. Him, you fucking ingrate.
I like that.
Right. That was an okay scene, and that's the scene that Fincher made Gary Oldman do over 100 takes of.
So he had to, was it real or fake vomit?
I don't know, but I'm assuming it was fake vomit.
I'm assuming it was real after 100 takes.
Yeah, the final take, he was really vomiting. Yeah, I mean, they must have had a spit bucket. They constantly keep spitting that liquid out after that. There's no way you can do fucking 100 takes you're fucking drinking. But
I mean, unless you ate 100 eggs like that guy from Cool Hand Luke.
Or if you did what DiCaprio did in The Wolf of Wall Street, where he decided every take he was going to eat the meal, and then he just fucking barfed all over the set.
Yeah, not surprising. You can't eat fucking 20 different meals in an hour's time, you dumbass.
I did want to bring up the bottles that he has in his room. It's called like Seconal.
Yeah, I thought it was just vodka or something.
No, it's basically like a drug that they would use before surgery, I guess, to
anesthetize.
Yeah, like just completely numb the patient. So I mean, it's like heavy duty shit. And obviously, he died of alcohol. 55. And it's basically like he's fucking drinking paint thinner. So he was a pretty serious alcoholic.
Yeah, I would say it'd be safer. Just give him a bottle of Jack. Don't give him the drugs.
Right. Give him the special shit from the doctors. Like, what are you trying to do here?
I have one more casting thing I'd like to bring up. Do you know who plays Upton Sinclair?
Who plays Upton Sinclair?
Famous muckraker. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Bill Nye the Science Guy played Upton Sinclair in this movie?
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Again, vomit. I don't know why, but I really dislike Bill Nye.
Do you know that he's not actually a real
he's an
scientist?
engineer. Yeah, he was an engineer. He was trained as an engineer. Got a TV show on Disney. Now appears on several talking head shows to give scientific analysis.
Right. He has no doctorate. He has no science degree. He's it's like fucking Dr. Phil. Like he's not a psychiatrist. He's not a psychologist. He's not even a fucking certified therapist.
Are you certain of that?
You've got a big surprise coming to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm positive he has no psychology degree. He's not a psychiatrist. Maybe I'm wrong on the therapist thing, but I'm pretty much sure he's not a real doctor.
Go check it out.
Most of these guys who play doctors on what's it, Dr. Oz, he's not a real doctor either. I found that.
Of course not.
These fucking pieces of shit.
It's the industry, baby.
But I wanted to bring up, there's a line in the movie earlier on where they're bringing up
people aren't spending their hard-earned 25 cents to see Macbeth.
And I adjusted that for inflation. 25 cents from 1940 is $4.65 today. $4.65.
Yeah.
we're getting fucked on the movie ticket prices.
We're getting fucked on everything, man. Do you have any other thoughts on the movie?
I wanted to bring up is like, despite this being 2 hours and like 11 minutes long, I don't feel like I really knew the story at all. Like I was just like, what was the story here of Orson Welles and Mank? Like basically the last 10 minutes of the movie.
He broke his leg and he wrote a script. That is the story.
Right. He broke his leg, he wrote a script, and Orson Welles edited that script to make a 2-hour movie and took screenplay credit. And Mank, in his acceptance speech, says,
To accept this award in the manner in which the screenplay was written, which is to say, in the absence of Orson Welles.
It's like, okay, and they never worked together. So it's like, you barely get any
That's sort of this movie. He's poking the bear at every turn. He's talking, he's making jokes and talking about socialism versus communism with Hearst and Mayer. He's coming in drunk, comparing them to Don Quixote. He's poking the bear the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the only thing I can say, the only thing left I have to say here is, I hope this continues to flop terribly for Netflix. So because David Fincher recently signed a new 4-year deal with Netflix, and I really hope that they sit him down, put a hand on his shoulder, slap him across the face, and say, "Okay, asshole, you're not gonna fucking do this bullshit again." Because man, this was fucking boring.
It's not gonna be Adam Sandler all over again.
Hey, at least Adam Sandler movies get in the top 10, you fuck. You'll be Halloween.
Oh God.
You'll be Halloween got 70 million viewers, you cocksucker.
What is more sad, that David Fincher has fallen to this movie, or that Adam Sandler movies get 70 to 100 million views?
What's sadder? Oh, David Fincher.
Yeah.
Definitely David Fincher. I've lost faith in humanity for a long time. So, yeah.
Do you have any ideas about his next project with Netflix? Is there any word on the street? Any buzz?
I'm assuming he's going to shoot a movie in the aspect ratio of a peephole. And it will be a silent film.
The artist.
About, I don't know, the first quadriplegic in the Olympics.
That's just some of these directors, they get to a point in their career and they're like, how come I don't have any Oscars? I'm going to do everything I can.
I'm going to whore myself on the street for this fucking Oscar. Oh my God. Yeah. And I think I might have even said this before in our social network review, but I'm so over post Zodiac David Fincher. He's lost it, man. I really think he has. He's just fucking lost it.
I don't know if he's lost it, but they're not. The movies after aren't nearly as good as the movies before. I'll grant you that. I like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I like Social Network. What else was there?
Gone Girl.
I didn't mind Gone Girl. Hey, at least one thing in this movie, you didn't get the piss yellow.
Yeah, you didn't get the piss yellow.
It's kind of hard to do that in black and white.
Right, yeah. So his next movie will be the Peephole movie in piss yellow. That's all I got.
Nah, I'm about the same. It's been happening for so long, the sort of David Fincher fall. But like I said, I enjoyed some of the other movies he's made, but this is just so bad. I just want to give up on the guy.
Yeah, have you looked at reviews or anything of this movie?
I did. I watched a couple. It was basically, technically speaking, it was great, but it was fine. Other than that, it was bad, plot-wise, dialogue-wise.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, but like I think it was like in October when they were early screening it for critics. I was hearing like, oh, they're all sucking the dick of this movie. It's going to be an awards contender, and I was just like, yeah, I don't see it.
There's a new trend with criticism. I call it the Chappelle trend. I believe it was his first Netflix stand-up show. 0% from critics, like 100 from fans. Fargo,
right?
Like 50, 60, I believe, from fans, like a 90 from critics. This, I'm betting, is going to be like 100% for critics and like a 20 for audiences.
Yeah, I completely agree.
If it's breaches on even the slightest subject, they're in love with it. Case in point, the Chappelle thing. He just makes a one-time joke, I believe, about transsexuals. Oh, he's the devil. This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I also think that a lot of critics are afraid of their own opinions and they latch onto other people's opinions as their own. You know, they're scared that they might get ostracized if they don't like this cultish fever that's around these certain filmmakers. It's like The Irishman or just some of these other awards movies where I'm like, yeah, I don't get it, man. This is so fucking boring. How can I trust someone who tells me that this was an exciting film? You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Did somebody seriously say exciting? One of the critics?
I'm assuming. I haven't looked, but don't turn your back to them.
Fucking plant your head into a railroad spike, you asshole.
Anyone who says to you they thought Mank was fantastic and exciting, just completely cut them out of your life.
I'm usually not that guy. I'm usually the guy who's like, okay, he liked it for this reason, they liked it for that reason, but I cannot see any reason to enjoy this movie. Seriously.
I mean, I guess if you're British and you just watch Barry Lyndon all day eating your little cucumber sandwich with your pinky out, you know.
I still haven't seen Barry Lyndon. I'm too scared.
Yeah, set aside 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I think we're done here.
Yeah.
David Fincher, suck my dick.
Maybe just take a couple years, hang out by the beach, smoke some doobies. That might help. Other than that, stay far, far away from this movie, in theaters or at home. Is it running in theaters at all?
I don't think so, but it might be in a couple.
Maybe internationally. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lifeless, dull, boring, want to shoot myself in the face movie. But if you're a pretentious asshole, you're going to love it. So watch it 10 times a day.
I concur.
All right, gang. This is Rudy Land. And we're slowly becoming the two old Muppets who hang out in the rafters and talk shit. Listen to us telling David Fincher what he should do.
You cocksucker!
Watch Stalker instead. Bye.